You're listening to the Modern Marketing Podcast, episode number 30, How to Write a Best-Selling Book with best-selling author Corey Gladwell. Let's get to it.
Let's go!
Welcome to the Modern Marketing Podcast, the show that takes different marketing tactics, tools, tips, and strategies and breaks them down into bite-sized actionable clips that you can use to immediately take your business to the next level. And now, your host, Adam Earhart.
Hey there, Adam Earhart here, and welcome to the Modern Marketing Podcast. Once again, incredibly excited to have you joining me here today and for the opportunity to share some of the latest and greatest marketing strategies and tactics, tools, tips, and everything else marketing related that's really going to help you grow your business and take it to the next level and well beyond. Not only in 2017, but well beyond that. If you enjoyed this episode, it would really mean the world to me if you're able to head over to iTunes and leave a quick and honest rating and review. Really helps the show gain traction and get it out there to more listeners. You're also going to be able to find all the show notes and the links that we talk about in today's episode by visiting modernmarketingpodcast.com. Now, I'm really excited about today's guest. His name is Corey Gladwell, and he's a friend of mine and a two-time best-selling author, a speaker, and a coach who has a really interesting story. Basically, he's a true rags to riches story. He grew up with very little, struggling on Section 8 and welfare when he was young, and managed to build a very successful empire at a really young age. So I'm not going to dive into too many of the details because obviously Corey's going to tell it a lot better than I can. But what's really interesting is how he was able to take all of his experience and his knowledge and package it and end up creating not one, but two best-selling books. And he's going to reveal some incredibly interesting strategies that you're going to be able to apply in your business, because a lot of people have the goal to go out there and write a book, but they really have no idea where to start, how they're going to be able to do it. I know that I definitely fall into this category. I would love to go out there and be able to have a book, but I've stared at that blank screen for a long, long time. So Corey ends up sharing a lot of incredibly practical and valuable advice. And I know that he's put me on the right path to end up getting my book out there. And I really think that you're going to find the same value with it. So with all that said, let's dive right in to our chat with Corey Gladwell. Hey, Corey, awesome to have you here. Thanks so much for being a guest on today's show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, I'm absolutely excited. I mean, I've been listening to some of your work, hearing some of you speak to a couple mutual friends of ours with AJ in that. Saw your last performance there on AJ's live stream, which was fantastic to see. You guys had a bit of a technical thing, but recovered absolutely flawlessly, which was amazing to watch. So very seamless, looked like pros there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we had a little bit of hiccup in the beginning, but we made it work. So
yeah, well, it's funny. It's often the recovery that sort of sets the tone and really allows people to shine. Like, you know, when you get to, I forget the exact expression, but it's like sort of, you don't see what someone's really made of until they're sort of put under pressure until something goes wrong. So yeah, you guys handled it just absolutely awesome. So it went well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Cool. So I'm really excited to have you on the show today and get to share with some of the listeners and the subscribers there about not only your story, but about some of your expertise, which is just phenomenal. I mean, always been really interested in how someone can build up their expertise and their authority in the marketplace. And I think you've just done an excellent job of this, got some really good stories. So why don't you dive in, give us a little bit about who you are for those that don't know you and a little bit about what you do and how you got here.
Yeah, so my name is Corey Gladwell, and I'm currently a two-time best-selling author and entrepreneur, and a marketing officer for quite a few different companies. And initially, I grew up very poor on Section 8 welfare. I didn't really have much to my name growing up, and that kind of drove me to want to be an entrepreneur, to want to get into business, to want to change my life. By the age of 23, I owned a nightclub, a restaurant, a vodka brand, and had all these different, kind of brick and mortar businesses. Which did great, but it was very unfulfilling on the inside. So I eventually crashed and burned, didn't have anything by the age of 25. And, I lost it all. I went inward, had a spiritual experience that connected me to the oneness of all life and just kind of shifted everything in my perspective. So the last 5 years, I've been writing books and been a coach and been an author and helping people, change their lives in business and in their personal life. And that's really what's driven me is to really make a difference for people and get a result for them versus just, selling them alcohol or food.
Yeah, no kidding. As great as those things can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, in moderation, obviously. So, well, that's fantastic. I mean, 23, what do you think was, what sort of drove you to that point? How are you able to achieve, I mean, that's a number of different businesses, right? Like that's a lot of success for someone to have at 23. So how do you think you got there, and why do you think it sort of wasn't all that you thought it would be, which is a pretty standard story in our entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, I think I got there because I was so, dissatisfied with my childhood growing up. It was very hard. It was, lots of struggle, lots of negativity. Being on Section 8 welfare and all that was very hard. And there wasn't a lot of happiness in the home, as a young child. And so, to me, there's probably other reasons that equated to that, but to me, it was always equated to not having enough. And that amount of scarcity caused a ripple effect of other problems. So I kind of made it my mission as a child to become successful. And so I worked every day and tried to do everything I could. I got into real estate when I was 18 and, did that. I've done a ton of different stuff. But I think that's what drove me to be more successful. And then, when I got there and I had the 7-figure businesses, the restaurant, the nightclub, it was a lot more time involved than I had imagined. And it was a lot more stress and drama and chaos. And I had no mentor. So I had no real expertise in that. I had no one to show me how to. So I think, that's the big part for me, why I think it didn't work out. I didn't know how to systemize. I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to do a lot of things in that business because I had no mentor. So I think had I known that, I would have been able to do a lot better in those situations. It's very impressive that I did what I did, given what I knew and how I was raised. But I had like I said, I had no mentor. I had no one to guide me to teach me how to do those things. So, I'm grateful things worked out how they worked out because I love what I do now. But I definitely think, knowing what to do or having someone to follow is definitely a much easier process.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, absolutely. You can learn a ton of lessons yourself, right? But you can just cut that learning curve in half as soon as you got someone to model it after or someone that you can even bounce some ideas off. So yeah, absolutely cuts that down. So that takes you to like 23. Then you sold the businesses, you put them on the back burner and you moved on. What happened from there?
So at 20, it was 25, I sold everything and I was kind of like, down and out and depressed kind of because I didn't have anything, going and all my hopes and dreams were kind of not what I thought they were going to be. So I turned inward. I started meditating and that's when I had a spiritual experience, similar to like Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie and, connected to the oneness of all life and felt this unconditional love pour out of me. And that lasted for like 3 weeks. It's the state of enlightenment for like 3 weeks. And then I just went into meditation and I've meditated now for 1,500 hours. And just been writing books, and I have my 3rd book almost done. 2 bestsellers already, and tons of more books on the way. And doing speaking at masterminds and coaching people through business. And to me, I see business and spirituality kind of connected. So it's a lot easier for me to do marketing and branding and be the chief marketing officer because I see a lot of solutions and problems that people can't get around. So it's benefited me a lot in when it comes to marketing and branding and all that. So
excellent. Yeah, it's sort of, I guess, like a more holistic approach to marketing. Well, yeah. Meditation, that's a topic for another day. I'm like the 5 to 10 minute day, 5 to 10 minute a day kind of guy. I think I've racked up maybe a few hours and they've been a struggle, but we'll save that. Absolutely a crucial part though of clearing your mind, hey, and finding that clarity and that balance and sort of the ability to push harder in other areas. So yeah, absolutely valuable. So obviously, one of the things that you're most well known for is being a 2-time best-selling author. So that's really kind of what I want to dive into next is, can you tell me a little bit about that and tell some of the listeners here about sort of the process for that to happen? Like, were you always a really gifted writer? Was this something that you sort of, you know where I'm going with this? Like, was this something that came naturally or how did you do it? And what has been the impact on your business moving forward? Like, how much of a pivotal role has this played for you?
Yeah, so for me, I was definitely not gifted with being a writer. I'd never written before. My first book took me 4 years to write because I had no idea what I was doing. I had no guidance in that either. And, I just kind of fumbled through putting things together and trying to figure it out. And then it just kind of came out. And eventually I figured out a system. I figured out a process of being able to deliver content without having to spend every day writing or trying to get into creative flow state or whatever, to just be able to get it out. And so to me, it's benefited me a lot because now that I'm a 2-time best-selling author, I've been featured on Fox News and ABC and podcasts and, speaking at masterminds and all these different things. And I equate that because of being an author and being a best-selling author and being able to have that kind of credibility and authority in your market. And so I always suggest to everyone, that's part of why I created Author Alliance, to teach other entrepreneurs how to be best-selling authors and how to write their own book, because that to me creates that authority, creates that credibility in your market, and you become the go-to person to discuss and talk to. So
absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I mean, we've heard like everybody's sort of a coach or everybody's a consultant. So you need that sort of level of differentiation. But when it comes to writing a book, when it comes to being an author, I mean, that's just such, like, we hold them on such a high pedestal, authors, best-selling authors, because it's such an incredible amount of work. Like, anybody that's ever tried to type a sales email or a sales page for their website or any kind of marketing material. I mean, even if it's just a short few hundred words, it can still seem like a pretty daunting task. I mean, a lot of people don't consider themselves really good writers. So that's half the battle. But then obviously the second part is you've got to take this and you've got to go out there and try and sell it. And to become a best-selling author is a pretty amazing feat. And I mean, that's something powerful to add to the resume. So I guess kind of a two-part question here. How do you write? What's sort of the system behind it? And then how do you take this material that you've created and go out there and sort of package it in a way that resonates with the audience?
Yeah. So the one thing, I'll answer the second question first. So I always like to tell people to, instead of trying to find a message that resonates with the audience, write a book that you would want to read. Right? Write a book that you would love, because I've tend to find through coaching people in business that the person they want to be is the person they've always needed. So like the clients they're going to help are a previous version of them, right? So you kind of have to become the person that you want, that you need the most, right? That's going to help you the most. And that's who you attract, is people that are looking for that in their life. And so that's kind of the first thing. So write a book that you would want to read. And then the second thing I would say is, I don't even do a lot of writing nowadays. I actually record everything myself and then transcribe it. It makes it much easier to dump the content out, get it out, and then you can edit it and flow it down and get it down to an actual book format. So like every video I make, every piece of content I put out, I always transcribe and get it into actual words, and then I can edit it and flow it together.
Interesting. So what you're saying is you don't necessarily have to sit down at the computer at 6 a.m. and just start typing out multiple thousand words, but you can sort of just carry around a recorder and sort of transcribe your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Excellent. Well, the beauty there also, right, is you're able to sort of repurpose all this content that you create over the time. So what's sort of your process? How do you go about this? Do you have like a schedule that you use every day? Do you just kind of comb through and go for it?
Yeah, so I make daily videos for YouTube and for Facebook and Twitter and everything, and I share those everywhere, and I send them to my email list, and then I transcribe all those videos. And then I also, usually once a week, I review different books that I'm writing, and I outline different parts of it. I create questions and answers and all kinds of stuff, and record certain sections, and just create content. And I have little files everywhere where I just stuff content. And then as I get more and more content, I decide where these pieces are going to flow together and how this is going to connect together. And you may not know right now, but I think so many of us want to know this end in mind. We want to know what's the title of the book. We want to know the subtitle. We want to know the meaning, the purpose. But I suggest more so just create as much content as you can, and you'll find that you'll create a book out of that. And I have in Author Alliance, I have the process of how to do it, systematically. But if you're not, trying to do it right away, you can just create content, and then eventually you'll have some things put together, and you can create more content out of that. So
I think that's genius. I mean, I absolutely love that approach. I think that's pure gold, because I couldn't even begin to tell you how long I've stared at this elusive title of a book where nothing is getting done, because I've got a title, I maybe have some chapter headings, but I mean, like, it is just not happening. Whereas tons and tons of content. So the ability to sort of go and put that together and piece it and see how it fits. Now, do you do this all on your own? Do you've got a team that can help, or how do you advise, like, once someone's got this sort of pile of content, if they've been recording and transcribing, or maybe they have a blog, or maybe they've got a podcast or whatever it is, but how do they go and take this content and sort of start to structure it together or get it edited?
I would personally hire an editor. That's what I would do. I would put together, hire an editor, and find someone to organize it for you. You can go to Fiverr or all these different places, outsource, whatever, and find an editor, or find, someone just to kind of piece everything together and then rewrite it for you. Then you can edit it yourself and rewrite some more in there. And, but just create as much content as you can at first. And then you can turn it into blog posts. You can turn it into videos. You can turn it into, whatever you want. And then you can compile that all into a book. And now all of a sudden you have, three or four or five different versions of the same thing from that content. So
excellent. No, it's genius. That's perfect. So, okay. So let's say they've done that. They've got everything edited. They've got a transcript, I guess, for their book. What's the next step? What do they got to do?
So next step, they'd want to go to publishing. And so I teach that about how to publish and everything, and how to launch. And so, once you get it published, you can either get an agent and be able to, hire a big publishing deal, or you self-publish yourself, through Amazon and get it on there. And then you just want to launch it. You want to get it out in front of as many people as you can, and make sure your mom, your brother, your cousin, like everyone, every client you have, that they're out there, giving as much content as they can, and really offering to buy the book and help you out, and get as many people involved in it as a launch, and sharing it, and liking it, and commenting, and getting it out there. So
Perfect. So I guess that leads us nicely then. That's a good segue into part 2, which is how do you take this book and then turn it into a bestseller? Obviously, you can rely on your friends and your family, but what if someone, say, has a small email list or no email list at all, or they're not as experienced with that? What are some of the promotion strategies that they can use to sort of take this book and really elevate it and get it out there to the market?
So I would use as many free resources as you can. If you don't have an email list or you don't have, I would use your family and friends, obviously, but I would use, like Facebook groups, Google Hangouts, like any kind of free forum you can find to get help. Obviously, no one's going to help you if you haven't helped them. So, if you're planning on writing a book, I would ask, I would offer as much help as I can in those groups leading up to it. So when you ask for something, they're going to be more willing to help you. But yeah, reach out. There's tons of free people online that can help and just click and buy and do whatever. But you have to add value first, I think, with anyone. It has to be a good product. If it's not a good product, no one's going to buy it. No one's going to review it. No one's going to help you with it. So
yeah, that's awesome. I think two really good points there. The first of which is obviously that feeling of reciprocity. Whereas if you can go out there and help some people first, they're going to be a lot more inclined to sort of mirror that back. And yeah, the second is obviously that the value of it. Yeah, the more value that you can give away. I guess 3 parts then, because obviously you're going to need a good product. You can't go there and schlep a bunch of garbage to the marketplace.
Yeah,
it's not
products. Yeah,
that's it exactly. Okay, excellent. Well, Corey, that sounds fantastic. I mean, if someone's able to go out there, I think the biggest hurdle here is that a lot of people just don't consider themselves good writers. So the fact that you're able to transcribe and go out there and sort of just talk and get it all written, that's fantastic. The fact that you're able to take content without sort of the structure right from the beginning, I absolutely love that approach, because sort of the structure has certainly stopped me in the past from creating any form of sort of long copy book. And then, yeah, the ability to go out there and just sort of network and interact and provide value to help sell it. All fantastic. So I guess here's the next question then is, what have I not asked you that I totally should have?
Yeah. So I think the only other thing that I would suggest people that I've done a lot of training on for people with branding and marketing is, before you begin making your business cards, your logos, and you're taking your pictures and you're, doing all this stuff out there and spending all this money, building websites, and, we get caught up in all the things we feel like, we should do to be somebody. Before you do any of that and you spend $1 on any of that, I would ask every client you have and every friend and every family member you have, what are the 3 words that come to mind when they think of you? And I would ask that because who you think you are and this person you think you're portraying may be completely opposite from how the world perceives you and why your clients buy from you and why people actually like you. So I would find out what the world perceives you as first with those 3 words from your clients and friends and family. And then I would build your branding around that, because that's what's attracting people to you. That's what's driving people to you and building your business. Not who you think you're supposed to be or who you think this person is that you are. It's what they're actually seeing you as.
Excellent. So like a real, true, deep sense of authenticity.
Yeah. So you can be congruent with who you are and represent the market correctly, and then drive your customers to you as well. So
excellent. Perfect. Great advice. Oh man, such good advice here. I'm going to have to go back and start looking through all my old stuff, start compiling. You've given me a laundry list of tasks now I'm going to have to look at, which is all, just so incredibly valuable, right? Because I absolutely understand, and I know the listeners here absolutely understand the value of having that book out there, being able to use it in place of a business card or in place of a resume. It's just such a powerful tool to have. So where can people learn more about you and where can they connect with you?
So if anyone wants to become a best-selling author themselves and publish and launch their own best-selling book in 60 days, they can go to authoralliance.co. And I have a training in there. And then if they want to reach out to me personally to for coaching or speaking or just get a hold of me at all, they can go to CoreyGladwell.com. It's COREY Gladwell.com and reach out to me on there.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to link both the Author Alliance and CoreyGladwell.com in the show notes. So anybody who, wants to reach out to Corey, highly suggest that you do. Corey's an awesome guy. And send him a note. You'll be able to find all of the contact details in the show notes below and in this episode, and also at modernmarketingpodcast.com. So Corey, awesome, man. I really appreciate you spending your time with us here today and sharing some of your wisdom and some of your stories. It means a lot, and all the best for your future successes there.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, so there you have it. I hope Corey's message has inspired you to go out there and take some action, whatever it may be. Get your message out there, start getting some recordings, start creating some content, and start putting together your vision and your message, which is going to allow you to reach more people and make a bigger impact on the world. So thanks so much for listening. Really appreciate if you're able to head over to iTunes now and leave a quick and honest rating and review for the show if you enjoyed it. It's really important to help it gain traction and get it out there to even more listeners. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that and for joining me here today. And I'll catch you next time on The Modern Marketing Show.
Let's go! Thanks so much for listening. For access to all the resources, notes, and links talked about in today's episode, be sure to visit modernmarketingpodcast.com, and we'll catch you next time on the Modern Marketing Podcast.